Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Johngy or Else podcast. I, of course, am who else but Tommy Else, and with me, as always, in a banana yellow t-shirt.
It's more of a lime green, but okay.
He's one big banana himself. From JohnGysBeat.com, Mr. Jonathan Xavier Robleski.
Well, thank you from the second banana. I appreciate that.
Second banana. Take it easy. Take it easy.
So, and why did the second banana? Like, what happened? Why does the second banana get such a disdain?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the origins of that saying. But yeah, the whole second banana thing. Yeah, like why you know, I guess the first banana's the star, and then.
But why banana then? Why not? You know, the second grape.
Maybe there was like a vaudeville show or something, and it was like these two bananas, and one guy was like the star, and the other guy was like the sidekick, and they called him the second banana.
I'll look it up for the next show.
There's sure an instant scenario to accommodate the story. So
I will look. I will look at the next show, and you will appreciate the fruit of my labor.
Oh God. Well, I'm back from vacation.
It's got appeal.
Oh God, would you stop, please? Back from vacation, rested, feeling good.
Still angry though.
I'm not angry.
Oh my God, you're like all on vacation. You're taking shots at me left and right on the social media and text. I'm like, I'm dodging.
Man. Well,
and I'm just sunshine and rainbows to you, man.
I don't know. I think our guest today saw some of the bullying that I
have please. To endure. Well, who is our guest today?
Our guest today, my friend, is someone who is a up and coming talent on the pro wrestling scene, particularly here in Chicago and the Midwest. Her name is Reagan Lydale.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're interested, before you listen to this episode, you can go back to our 4th episode and listen to our interview with Cameron Rathel, who eventually evolved into Reagan Lydale. And so you can kind of check out where she was a little over a year ago when she was just starting training and just starting to cut her teeth, and not even in the business really at that point, just getting in the ring. Now she's out there and she's got a gimmick. She's an active competitor. She's making money as a professional wrestler. She's living a dream right now. And so we've got her on the show. So without further ado, Reagan Lydale. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show budding new pro wrestler on the scene, Reagan Lydale.
Hello,
Reagan,
hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you,
hello, Reagan.
It's our first time having Reagan Lydale on the show.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you today?
It's my day off, so just kind of chilling for the day, doing some college homework, just like a teenager thing, just regular old day.
You won't be a teenager much longer.
I mean, that's next year. We still got some time.
A year. Wow.
So we did early on in this series, in this show, interview Miss Cameron Rathel, and who was at the time a training to be a pro wrestler, working out of the Freelance Wrestling Academy. And it's been a little over a year, and Cameron has morphed into Reagan Lydale, and is now actively competing out in making money as a pro wrestler. Pretty wild, huh?
It's crazy. I mean, like, when I was younger, I would have never thought I would be in this position that I'm in now. But I mean, like, I have no thoughts or like, words to comprehend what's going on, because like, my childhood dream has like came true. So now all of it's like coming together like full circle. So crazy.
Yeah.
How many matches have you had so far?
I want to say maybe I think 7.
Oh,
I think, yeah. I don't know. I think somewhere around that.
Well, we saw your first match with as Reagan Lydale, um, and that was excellent. I'd like to talk about that first.
at freelance.
At freelance, yes, we saw her at the Emporium Beercade down in Logan Square, um, and I mean, first of all, I mean they packed that place in there. I mean, they really get a lot of people in there, and that was a good crowd. Um, but let's talk about Reagan Lydale as a pro wrestler. So tell us where you came up with your idea for your gear and stuff,
And your song.
and who is Reagan Lydale?
So Reagan Lydale, I want to say, is more like a hippie-esque person, but want to be badass in the ring because I'm like 6 foot tall. I got to do something with that. So
Yeah.
it's weird because the hippie thing is like, oh, peace, love, like no violence, whatever, and then I'm in the ring like beating people up. So I kind of like went for that. I like the how like ironic it is, I guess. But I actually found the gear. I was just looking around on Instagram, like scrolling through, and I see like some girl made like a rave outfit, and the pants were essentially kind of how like my gear is with like the cutout. So I was like, oh, I actually really like that, and it still had like the flared bottoms and everything. So that's essentially where I got the gear idea from, and looking at fabrics and everything, and I was like, oh, like paisley print. I was like, I really like it, and it's bright, so that's kind of where that came from.
I thought it was very good. I really liked it, and thought that it does fit your personality, and from what I can gather of your gimmick so far. I also really liked your entrance music.
Thank you.
Which is by Greta Van Fleet. How did you fall on that song?
So I've been listening to Greta Van Fleet, and like a lot of their music is, rock essentially. But it was kind of getting closer to like the date of like that match. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to use. Like, well, originally I was gonna use Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks, but it did not go out that way because just editing issues. I didn't want like a long intro before I came out. So
Right.
I quickly found this one song. I really, really, really liked the intro, like the, essentially
It's
where
a great
I come
intro.
out.
No, it's a great intro for a wrestling intro for sure.
So yeah, I kind of like stuck on that. And I was like, that works. I like this band, and a lot of it was just because of that intro. I was like, this gets me hyped up, whatever. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much why I use that one.
And that's really one of the it's so important not to just have a cool entrance thing, but it's got to connect to you personally, so that when you hear that music, you get excited and you get psyched up, and then you bust through that curtain and you go out there and you hit it.
Right.
So very good. So very good choices. I thought as far as what you've done. The crowd is definitely into you. I mean, from the first match, we saw your first match there, and then we saw you most recently taking on a freelance veteran, to say the least, in GPA. I mean, that's a big name to have a match with, and you guys went what, 10 minutes at least?
I think so. Like I think 8 to 10 minutes, something like that.
And that crowd was absolutely, but from the second you came through the curtain to the second the match was over, I mean, they were with you 100% of the way, cheering their asses off. I mean, it was really cool to see. And I think you and I talked about it personally, but one of your moves that I noticed the first time you did it really like wowed everybody, and then I noticed it stayed in the arsenal, but it's the big cartwheel. The cartwheel. Yeah. And this is what I love about wrestling, is that you can take something as simple as a cartwheel, and if you time it the right way and use it in the right spot, everyone goes nuts. And it's not like you have to jump off the top rope or go through a pane of glass. It's a real simple thing. And the 2 times I've seen you do it, the place loves it. They love it.
How did you come up with that?
So Honestly, I don't know. I think it was like I wanted to do like a bicycle kick anyways. I was like, well, I got long legs, whatever, it'll work. But I kind of wanted to think of a way to just get into it rather just than, someone getting up and I just hit him with it. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then, I was running it in class one day and thinking of ideas, how to incorporate it. And I thought about the cartwheel. I'm like, well, I could do cartwheels, I think pretty nice. So, it doesn't look sloppy. And so that's kind of where I came up with it. It's just like, I don't know, a transition, I guess, into that cartwheel or the bicycle kick. So that's, yeah, it was, practically like that.
Well, I remember on your first match at the Emporium, one of the things I was impressed with was you were going for like pin after pin after pin on your opponent, but every time you went to pin them, you pinned them a different way, which I love that, because you see guys do the same thing: hook the leg, they kick out; hook the leg, they kick out. Like, no, you were like, okay, that didn't work. All right, let me try this. All right, that didn't work. Let me try this. I mean, that shows the arsenal that you have, that all the different things that you do know. And as I see you wrestle more and more, I can see that you're not working with 5 moves of doom. I mean, like, you know a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm very, very, very impressed with your wrestling style and your ability. John,
you got to mention the chops.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess it's because I already talked to her, but yeah. So the last time we saw you, all of a sudden you just busted out a chop, and it like cracked throughout the whole place, and I was like, where the hell did that come from? I'm like, the girl can chop, man, and I'm like, and then you just were laying into him, and we were like, I mean, like, you can't fake it. I mean, like, you can either chop or you can't. I could never do it, and I could never in a respectable way, but you definitely can chop. I mean, like, and again, what an easy move to be able to, like, if you know how to do it and you can do it. I mean, it's such a nice, simple thing to be able to work into your routine and stuff. When did you first realize that you could throw a chop? Just happened in class one day?
It's funny because not to throw us out there or anything, but freelance kids like to chop for some reason. All in class, we one day they were like, oh, okay, we're gonna practice chops, because it's like such a basic thing, but it can go wrong. Like, if it's whatever.
Oh yeah, if you chop somebody and you can't get a crack out of it, or
bad,
or it looks soft or whatever, then yeah, it totally can bomb. I mean, it's not. People think that must be like one of the easiest things you can do, slap someone in the chest, but you really got to come at it at just the right angle and have your palm just the right way. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So one day we were, they were just like, oh, we're going to practice chops. And everybody was like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm excited because I know I can throw one. So,
how did you know you could throw one? You've been hitting your brother?
Maybe. But, so we were practicing them. And when I forgot who I was going with, but I chopped them and everybody was like, oh my God, like, what the heck? So yeah. And actually, like, I think every match I've had, it's just, there's like a spot, or not a spot, but at least like a chop or two in there. And like, I hate to say it, but it's fun to do. You get a reaction out of everybody because you just get slapped in the chest. And so it's like, oh wow, okay, more. Let's go. So.
And I think I told you that night was like a really good chop. I don't care if it's the 50th chop of the night, because John and I watched a match recently, Ric Flair versus Chris Jericho, and Ric Flair must have chopped him like easily 50 times during that match. It was ridiculous. But even after like so many chops, if you can get that crack and it sounds bad, everyone will react. You will always get the reaction. Right. And you are getting it every single time. I mean, and realistically, they should be more and more as they go along, because the guy's chest is getting lit up, and GPA's chest was lit up. So, and that's the other nice thing about it is something you can see aside from hearing. I mean, and anyone who's taken a legitimate chop will tell you it really does hurt, and there's no getting around it. It is what it is. You're
Right.
going to get slapped really hard in the chest.
And you didn't misfire on any of them.
No.
They were all strong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the chop. People, it's like people will be like, oh, I want to take a chop from so and so or something like that. I remember everyone always wanted Marche Rocket. Just they wanted to see if they could take one of Marche Rocket's chops, and people would line up, and he'd be like, "Are you sure?" And they'd say, "Yeah," and then they would.
It's one of the moves that you can actually take. I mean, you're not going to take a tombstone. You're not going to take a Walls of Jericho. You could actually take a chop.
Yeah, I know. I just think it's funny that that's the move though that people. I guess it's because it's not a body slam or something like that, but it's just like I don't think people understand what they're inviting. When they ask 6'4", 240-pound Marche Rocket to slap them as hard as they can.
Well, they find out quickly.
Yeah, it's. I never asked him to do it. I've seen him do it. It looks like it hurts, and I believe it. So, anyway, welcome to the show, Reagan. We'll start talking to you again. Tell everybody the story of how you came up with the name Reagan Lydale. Like you're headed to your first match, but you had a different idea heading into it for what your name was going to be, right?
Kind of ish. So I was thinking about the longest time what I wanted my name to be, because once I have that name I kind of got to stick with it. So I was thinking for so long, I'm I don't know, I'm going back and forth between a first name and a last name, but then potentially putting that last name with a different one, and just all these options. And yeah, I was on my way to Emporium, and it was literally the day of the show. So I'm, pulling up at 2 o'clock or whatever, the time we have to be there to set up. And I just was I don't know what I want my name to be. But I essentially kind of settled on using my first name as Reagan. I got it from The Exorcist. It's one of my, it's like a classic horror movie. I like that movie. And I got it from that. And a lot of people are like, well, it's actually Reagan. I'm like, it's Reagan. If you just watch The Exorcist, you would, but anyways. But then I got the last name. There was actually a street sign, and the street sign was Lyndale, but I read it as, I remembered it as Lydale. So when I got to Emporium, I was like, all right, that's my name, Reagan Lydale. And then I was talking to someone, and they're like, I know that street name, but it's not actually Lydale, it's Lyndale. And I'm like, is it for real? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, which one sounds better? And they're like, no, definitely Lydale, whatever. And I was like, okay. And then you then told me I don't think that's the name. And then my mom also told me that. And I was like, I know it's not. But
well,
yeah.
The first time I didn't know what your name was going to be until I got there, and I kind of remembered seeing that street, but I didn't remember what it said, if it was Lyndale or Lydale. You said it was Lydale. I just figured whatever. So the second time I was driving there, though, I'm taking the same route, and I passed that street again, and I looked at it and I go, I think she thought that said Lydale and it's Lyndale, and I'm like, I can't be mistaking the street. There can't be, because I brought it up to John. We were standing in line waiting to get in, and John's like, well, maybe there's just another street. And I was like, really, you think there's a Lyndale and a Lydale within a block or two of each other? And we're like, yeah, probably not. And then John was like, well, are you gonna say anything to her? I said, yeah, I'm gonna say something to her. I said I'm not expecting her to change her name. I just thought she might want to know that that's not what the street was. For her, if she didn't know, it would be a trivia thing. It'll be in her biography someday.
Now, is there any reason why you wouldn't just use your real name?
I think it's because okay, so growing up, Cameron is usually a boy name, you want to say, but it's become more of a gender fluid name at this point. But when I was wanting to become a wrestler when I was younger, I was just I don't want to use my real name. I want to put someone out there that is still me in a sense, but a different personality, different way of showing myself. I like that you're able to create yourself, create moves, your gear, your name, and just make somebody else out of yourself. So that's why I wouldn't use my real name. And plus, I think it was just like, it doesn't really flow, I feel like. So that's another reason why. But yeah, I think it's just more the aspect of being able to create something. So that's why I wouldn't use it.
Yeah, and I think that there's something to having a character, like a different name. There's some people that works for, though. I mean, some people are born with a name that just works, like Marche Rocket. I mean, it's like if your name's Marche Rocket, how are you going to waste that? Or your name is Storm Grayson. I mean, it's like, if your name is Storm, how are you not going to use that? You're going to change it to something else. So I mean, it's like there's some names where it just works, but I get it. And it's, honestly, it's fun because I've gotten to do both, because I got to be Eric St. Vaughn, but I also got to be Tommy Else and be myself.
Right.
And that was something that more was, the fans, or the crowds were really the ones who were making that decision at that point. So, but it was fun to play a different, character other than myself. And then even when you're being yourself, you still have to be a caricature of yourself. So either way, I think I dig the name, the total package. Your wrestling looks great. You were saying you're training what, twice a week on average right now?
Yeah, I would say so. It sucks though, because now being in college, it's like you have to really find a balance between everything, because like the days I do train, like you go to work and then you leave, and then you waste essentially that whole day, so I don't get to do anything. So it's hard, but yeah, essentially like 2 to 3 days a week, I'll be training.
Because you're training, you're taking college classes, you also have a full-time job. Is it full-time or is it part-time? Am I being presumptuous?
It's part-time. It used to be full-time,
but either way, I mean, you're juggling a lot,
Yeah.
And what are you, 19?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot, and working shows on weekends and stuff and things like that. I mean, you've traveled, or I mean, since we had you on the show, I mean, you've done a lot to get to where you are. I mean, you have been at every promotion I can see under the on Facebook. You're at different shows, and you're helping set up, and you're helping tear tickets at the door, or run the sound, or ring the bell, or whatever. I mean, like, you did everything right. You went out there and you made yourself available, and you've been like a sponge and learned, and you've had the benefit of some fantastic trainers throughout the time that you've been training and everything. I mean, you just again, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, there's no limit to what you can do. I mean, the only one who's ever going to stop you is you.
Right.
When you decide, I'm not doing this anymore, or I've decided I'm done. That's the only thing. As long as you just keep doing what you're doing, I see absolutely no reason why we don't see you at whatever level you want to take it to.
When you were having the matches, during the match, I know obviously you're concentrating on the match, but how much do you hear or see from the audience? Like, were you able to tell that the audience was like screaming for you?
I literally feed off the crowd. So when I heard them, when I made my entrance and they popped for me, I'm like, you guys seen me once, and the match that I had is not even uploaded yet. So I was like, okay. But getting into the ring and everything, and everybody just started chanting, beat up GPA, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, okay. So that you really, like I said, I feed off a lot, like off of that, and I can hear everybody, or things like that. In only certain circumstances, though, I could like look at someone, maybe if I on the ground or something, and I look up, I can pinpoint a couple people, but otherwise, I guess paying attention and seeing the whole crowd, at first I thought I'd be like terrified if I saw, but I was like, in the meantime, it's like I actually don't really notice them in a way, and I feel like it's crazy to me, because I was always like, oh my gosh, social anxiety, I've been performing in front of everybody, but I actually don't, recognize them as much as I thought I would. So, which is great because then I'm not as nervous, but still hearing everybody pop for a lot of that stuff. I mean, it's crazy, crazy.
I think you got to kind of pick your spots and because when you're focused on the match and you're focused on what you're trying to do, it is hard to hear the crowd. I mean, even if they are cheering for you or whatever, it's like, you can hear it, but it's just kind of like this white noise in the background,
Right.
But like if you get kind of almost a rest spot or something, like where you knock the guy down and you can kind of look around the room and like work the room a little bit or something, in that moment, then you can kind of absorb some of that and see.
Right.
And yeah, when if people pop for your entrance, if they pop for one of your chops or whatever it is, it gives you a certain confidence, and also I think can give you a certain level of calm and slow you down a little bit, because
Right.
you know that the people are responding positively.
Yeah.
So you're doing a good job, and once you feel like you're doing a good job, then you can just keep rolling with it. And it's when you're questioning, like does this look bad, am I doing this right, that's when you're going to be less likely to be able to give your attention to that sort of thing. So
Right.
Are the nerves calming down, as you're doing more matches? Are you getting more relaxed?
I think it depends, because I had a match with Heather Reckless. Was it in?
Okay.
I think in August. With like I said, Heather Reckless. It was with Ego Pro Wrestling at the baseball shows in Ozinga, and so when I was there, I wasn't necessarily super nervous until it was my time to go out, and I think that was the most nerve I've felt, and that was, I want to say, my fourth match. So I was like, oh my gosh, like this is weird. But the only reason why I think it was like that is because it was like a new promotion, a new area for me. But like when I had my most recent one with GPA, I was nervous, and I was getting real nervous towards me coming out again. But it eventually calmed down, and I think it's just because I know these people, I know who I'm working with,
Right.
I know this crowd. But being like in a different company or a different town or whatever, it's kind of like, I don't want to say a restart, but it feels like a restart. I'm like, oh, I gotta deal with nerves again. So
very much, very, very much so. I understand, because I was always, freelance will always be your home, and so you're always going to be more comfortable there, and you'll know, because everybody who works every different part of that company beyond just the wrestlers and all that sort of stuff. You go to a new place, and you might see a face or two you recognize or whatever, but you got to go around and you introduce yourself to everybody, and you got to maybe you don't know what the promoter looks like or something like that, so you don't know who to go say hi to. I mean, it can be still a little stressful and a little anxiety and stuff, but again, the more time you go out there, you'll visit these places again and again, and then when you start seeing more and more faces that you recognize work in different companies, and you should always be, they say you should always be a little nervous going into a match. If you're not at least a little nervous, then it might not go well.
Right.
You need a little bit of nerves to drive you.
How did you feel about wrestling outdoors?
Oh my God, I hated it. It was
Same here. I hate wrestling outside. Oh, it's terrible.
And when I wrestled outdoors for the hot sauce fest, it rained. It was the first day. We had the tornado sirens go off. It's like 5 a.m. I'm like, I've had literally, I think I had 3 hours of sleep, and then the the tornado alarms went off, and I was like, great, I'm not gonna have any sleep. I have a match today, whatever, and it's hot. So it was really muggy. It was like 90 degrees, feeling like 100. It sucks because my gear, I have long pants, even though they got the cutout, it's still like it's still long, and I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. It sucked. We eventually had to use like a vinyl canvas, because the fabric one, I guess, like the a normal canvas got rained on and it was soaked. So we had to use a vinyl one, and I don't know, someone came up to me and was like, did you like feel that? And I was like, no. So I went over there, I touched it,
It's
and
like
I
a
was like, oh
frying
wow.
pan. It's like a
Yeah.
frying pan.
I was like, oh my gosh. And I was surprised I was even able to like keep up because it's hot and I don't do well with like hot weather. And eventually I was like, okay, this is fine, like it's okay. I didn't really feel the, the vinyl canvas that much. Honestly, I was, even though I was on the ground for a while, at some points, I think it was just like, well, this isn't my main priority right now to feel how hot this canvas is. So I didn't really mind it, I guess. But before that, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, it's hot.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah.
you just muscle your way through it. I mean, it's like it's gonna suck, and it's just what are you gonna do about it? There's nothing you can do. But I've had a few. First of all, I'm with you. I just don't do well with heat in general.
Right.
So even that's one thing I liked about some of the places that we ran, and like in Summit and stuff like that. It was
Right.
always air conditioning in the summertime, heated in the wintertime, things like that. But yeah, don't do well with heat in the first place. But if you have a vinyl mat and it's out in the direct sunlight, I mean, it is just it's like every time you get pinned, it's not even that you're just laying on it, but someone's pressing you into that hot vinyl, and it's just like you could just feel your skin bubbling, and searing on this thing. I've only had to do it a few times, but the few times that I did, not good. Another thing vinyl canvas is not great for is when it rains, because then it's like a slip and slide out there.
Well, that's what happened too, is like we kept the canvas on, or did we keep, I don't remember, but either way, it I think it rained again for like, whatever, how long, the second day that we were there, and there was like kind of like a little puddle forming, and I was like, I don't think this is quite, safe to have us wrestle on a wet vinyl canvas. It eventually dried up because it got hot out again. Sun was, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was pretty nerve wracking. I was like, okay, how am I, I don't want to slip. I don't want to, do anything.
Well, I've had to do that too. And all you do is you just got to slow everything down and just be as safe as you can, and just kind of work bigger moves and stuff, something that, like body slams and things like that. But,
Chops.
chops. Yeah. But I wouldn't go doing leapfrogs and stuff like that, and jumping over dudes or any of that sort of thing.
Well, and it sucked because it's like I was, I'm sweating my ass off. So eventually the canvas was getting wet from the sweat. So
Sure,
it's like you had to, like you said, you had to be careful about it. I felt myself, kind of slip a couple times. I don't think it was super noticeable, but I was like, oh, well, be careful. But yeah.
So a year ago, you had yet to have your first match yet, and here you are a year later, at least 7 matches deep, and in the course of that year, that's a big jump. You made a lot of progress. I mean, I hope you're as proud of you as everyone else is, because we're all, we've been watching very closely, as you know, and we're John and I have gotten, fortunately, see a couple times already, and we'll see more as we go down the road. Do you have any bookings coming up at all, or
unfortunately, I had to turn down one recently, actually, for October 8th, because I'll be on vacation, so that sucks. But I don't really have anything else.
Man, she's turning them down. She's turning down the offers now. Now she's just
turned down, or I was not available, or I will not be available. But yeah, I felt bad because it's at I guess a venue that I was at before. I didn't wrestle there, but I just went to watch and help out. And it's on a farm, and they, obviously the animals and everything, but it's open, and it's a pretty good area. So it sucked, but.
And you're not going to be at New York Comic Con signing autographs that day, are you? Because that's I just thought you might have reached that level.
No, I won't be there, unfortunately.
That is something I wanted to ask you about, though. I'm glad you said that, John.
I'm here.
So I'm sure at this point you have signed an autograph or two, right?
Yeah. So.
And how did it feel the first time, like a fan?
And are you practicing?
And asked you to to give them an autograph? How did it feel the first time a fan came up to you and who you didn't know and they were like, "Can you sign this?"
I don't even want to say maybe he was a fan, maybe he wasn't. It was at Hot Sauce Fest, and he came up to me, and he had his like little lanyard or whatever, and he's like, "Can you sign this?" And I was like, "I mean, yeah, okay." So I signed it, whatever. He's like, "Okay, thank you." And I don't know, I was like, "Oh, cool, someone wants an autograph." But at the same time, like, this person just probably wants it because he saw a wrestler and called it a day. It was just like an environment there that everybody wasn't there to see wrestling. It was kind of just like the hot sauce, and we were just in the middle of it. But I mean, it was still cool nonetheless. But
How does it feel to be
people.
signing autographs now and taking pictures with people?
Oh, it feels fun. It's fun. It's great. I was,
Oh, I loved it. That was
That was
yeah.
cool.
I don't know why there's some wrestlers who are kind of standoffish about that. I'm like, I don't know why. I'm like, I'll do it all day long. I'm like, if somebody wants my signature, then who am I to say no? The first time someone asked for my autograph was the very first night I debuted in Resistance Pro. And I didn't do anything. I didn't wrestle a match. I came out, I think I said about 3 words. I was out there with Darcy Dixon. We did a pose down, and then Ego came out and ridiculed us out of the ring and embarrassed us. And and that was the spot, and that was the whole thing. And then afterwards, this girl comes up to me, and she's got a poster and she's got a marker, and she said, "Will you sign this for me?" And I remember, without skipping a beat, I looked at her and I said, "Why?" Like, why do you want my autograph? And she was like, "You were great." And I'm like, I didn't do anything. But and I had that moment though where I had to stop myself and be like, "Oh, I guess I'm supposed to sign this Eric St. Vaughn." And I had never written the word. I had never written it in my life. I had just been given the name like 3 or 4 hours before this. So I was still trying to remember what it was. And yeah, it was a crazy moment, but I remember that. And then yeah, anytime I ever signed something for anyone after that, it never got old, and it's just it's a cool thing. So I'm glad you're getting to do that. I saw at the last show, you had some people coming up to you and doing some group photos and things like that. That's awesome. So John, you got anything else for the young lady while we've got her here?
Nothing but applause. That was fantastic seeing you.
Thank you.
We did videotape your both the first match we saw there at the Emporium and your last one. They are available on the Johngy or else YouTube channel. And your recent match with GPA as of this morning is over 900 views right now.
Oh.
So.
Oh wow.
I believe it's our top video.
It might be our top video, yeah, to be honest. And I think and there's like 5 comments or something too of people talking about
wow.
it. You should check it out. Yeah, like people are they're all complimentary, they're all superlatives, so you should check it out. But for our listeners and viewers, if you want to see one of her most recent matches, the one that we were at, you can check it out on our YouTube page. Cameron, I'm sorry, Reagan. You look.
I gotta deal with.
You look just like this. You look just like this girl, Cameron. I know. If people wanted to find you on social media, where would they find you? If they wanted to see where your next match is, or they wanted to see, a picture or a video, where can they find Reagan Lydale?
Definitely mostly on Instagram, which is just Reagan Lydale, so REGANLYDALE. That's the username for Instagram. The same thing on Twitter, but I usually am not on Twitter, so I usually just repost all like the freelance stuff on there. But if you want to see anything coming up or what I'm doing, it's definitely on Instagram.
We want t-shirts. We want you to make.
When are the 8x10s and the t-shirts coming? I saw you did some headshots.
Yes, 8x10s will be coming soon, and because I got those done. And t-shirts, I don't know, but I'm thinking about it. I definitely want to put like a lot of thought into like the first shirt. So
sure,
but
we got 2 sales here.
Yeah, you get two. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and then I'm sure your mom and the rest of the family. I know your mother will be the first one to get
Oh
her
yeah.
shirt.
Oh yeah.
It's worth mentioning. Your mother is. Your parents in general, but I know your mom especially is a very big fan and just really supportive and loves seeing you do this. And I think that's
Mhm.
really awesome. That's a great. It's great to have the support of your family. Because there's a lot of people who don't have that
Right.
and fight against it, and it's too bad. So, well, all right, Reagan, thank you very much. I know your star is ascending and it's getting harder to book you on shows
That's
like
not what I meant.
this, but we hope that you'll keep us in mind as we go down the road, and because we would like to check in with you again and again periodically throughout your forthcoming illustrious career. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Reagan.
having me. Thank you guys.
All right, you take care.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, later. Well, there you go, Reagan Lydale. Reagan, not Regan. Reagan Lydale. I apologize. I have been, and John, I did correct you at one point, and I was pushing the Regan. I thought she at some point corrected me and told me that it was Regan, not Reagan. So, but I was wrong, and
Not only did you
I am not
correct
above
me, you
admitting.
incorrectly corrected me, and then you flubbed it now, which is like triple mistakes.
Well, it happens. But
I just hope the
anyway,
committee knows this.
the committee is not concerned.
My committee knows this.
I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, it was definitely good to get to see her and have her back on. And
What a delight.
After we had her on the first time, because she was our first guest, to be honest, we've ever had. After we had her on the first time, I mean, and I encourage people to go back and check that one out. But it's funny because we were saying the same things then, and that she is someone who we knew was going to be able to go as far with this as she wants to, and she has just not taken her foot off the gas since the last time we talked to her, and it's paying off.
Well, GPA, Heather Reckless, those are big names.
Yeah. And I know you see online too, but she's she's always promoting the shows, that whether she's in them or not,
She's doing everything right.
Yeah, she's out there helping at shows, and she and even and still is, that's a job that you never really give up, but to be put in the matches with the people she's in speaks very highly of the confidence they have in her ability and her skill.
Well, yeah, they're not squash matches. She's not going out there and taking a 30-second pin just to have a match. They're giving her quality time with established names.
Yeah. I mean, this last one was on the main card, and it was up against one of their biggest names in the company.
GPA, the guy's everywhere.
That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So, I mean, at this point, it's like all we can do now is just sit back and enjoy the show. I mean, she's on her way, and she's doing a great job, and I never doubted that she would, and I'm just glad to see that it's all coming together.
And I'm excited that we followed it from pretty much the very beginning, and we're going to continue following it. So, we're ground level. We got to come up with names like for the fan club, like Haley Reinhardt. Her fans are the Halians. So we got to come up with something for. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll work on something for Reagan Lydale. I don't know. The Reaganites.
I was thinking that.
But aren't those Ronald Reagan people though?
But we're changing that.
Aren't those his fans? Well, he's gone. That's true. I mean,
we're bringing it back, baby.
How long does he keep the copyright on that? I don't know. Well, we'll work on it. We'll see if we can come up with anything. And maybe Reaganomics. Well, maybe some of our listeners can submit some ideas in the comments or something somewhere. So, all right, John. If somebody wanted to find you online, where would they find you?
at Johngy's Beat anywhere, and the Johngy or Else podcast available now on YouTube as well as Spotify. And how about if they wanted to find Tommy Else?
Well, John, they can find me on the gram at Tommy_else. They can find me on the Twit at Tommy_else. They can find me on YouTube by searching Tommy Else. They can find our Johngy or Else podcast YouTube page by searching for the Johngy or Else podcast, which has recent episodes. I will be uploading all of the past episodes as well. They may not all have video, but you'll have at least the option of listening to them. There are people who have YouTube music and listen to stuff on YouTube, so they'll be able to listen to past episodes there. But we also have related videos to shows, things we've talked about, things that we've been to, including, like I said, the 2 matches we saw Reagan in at the Emporium. So you can check out that and get to see her in action.
And we now have t-shirts available.
And we now have t-shirts available. How can we not mention that? And you can go to Pro Wrestling Tees and look in the Johngy's Beat store, and you'll see what is now the #1 selling t-shirt in the Johngy's Beat store, the Johngy or Else podcast shirt, available in black or white, or well, one's black with color, with black and red, and the other is white shirt with a black and white logo. Kind of old.
They're both stylish.
They both look good. Did you we talked about potentially a hoodie? Did you look into that at all?
I don't think they have hoodies.
They don't have hoodies. All right, well, we'll find a place that has hoodies, and if you're someone who's interested in getting one, feel free to reach out to us at any of our social medias that we just shared with you. So get yours today. So with that, for the Johngy or Else podcast, I, of course, have been who else but Tommy Else, and with me, as always, is the man on the beat from JohnG'sBeat.com, Mr. John Robleski.
Thanks for listening.